This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everybody. This is Len Sierra for AnCan's high-risk, recurrent, and advanced support group video chat. And I'm Len Sierra, and uh, we're going to start off thanking our sponsors, Bayer, Pfizer, Myovant, Janssen, Myriad, Telix, Foundation Medicine, and Rick, I believe you said there was a new one.
Yes, Blue Earth Diagnostics.
Okay.
That takes us to 8. Blue Earth Diagnostics are the people that make Axumin, and they now have a new PSMA scan soon to be available and approved by the FDA called Posluma.
Yes. Yeah, maybe you can enlighten us about Posluma. What's the difference between that and the other PSMA PET scans later?
Well, I'd be happy to, but Ben's probably better positioned to do that than I am.
Okay.
And by the way, we're trying to arrange a little seminar for the moderators with their chief medical guy or one of their medical guys. Ben, you want to say anything about Posluma?
Um, it it was originally intended to be a single one one kind of PSMA ligand that would solve two kinds of problems. It would work the same chemical formula would work as therapy or as for a PET scan. So they actually are not doing it that way. They're using the same chemical formula, but they don't have the lutetium in it to do therapy. It's just something they bought to do PET scans. I don't know whether they ever plan to use the therapy part, but the structure is such that it would be, bifunctional.
Do you know what the advantage, if any, of that would be over Polarify or the gallium-68?
Benefit to the patient? I don't know. Benefit to them, of course, is they have one process. If they used both, they would have one manufacturing process that would work for both.
I think,
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think there may be some trials for therapeutic Posluma right now. I'd have to check. If not, I think they're planning on trials for the therapeutic side pretty quickly.
I'll have to change
Excuse
the name
me.
from Blue Earth Diagnostics to Blue Earth Theranostics.
Ah, so it would. Blue Earth is part of a bigger company, I think Italian owned, and I forget the name of the company. I'd have to look. If you told me, I'd remember. And the theranostics will be handled by a different division or a different company under the same umbrella, but those trials are being handled by a different group. I think I forget what it's called. But that was explained to me.
Jim Marshall, you have your hand up.
Yes, Ben, you happen to use a term called ligand. Could you explain that, please?
Sure. So there's a there's the part that in the molecule there's a part that attaches to the PSMA. There's a part that attaches to the radioactive part, either for PET or for therapy, and then there's another piece that joins them. That whole thing is called a ligand. That's what binds to the PSMA, that molecule.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with a new member, Matt Krieger. Matt, I'm going to ask you a few questions, try and keep your story in chronologic order, just for our benefit. So try not to get ahead of me with the question. So how old are you, Matt?
I'm 55.
55?
Yep.
Okay. And where do you live, Matt?
In Denver.
Denver. I have a sister in Denver.
Nice.
Uh, and how did you hear about AnCan?
Through the
Did he freeze or did I?
Rose.
kind of went through a couple links to get here.
Okay, we lost you for a minute there, Matt. So, Matt, when were you first
Yeah.
diagnosed? And at that time, what was your Gleason score and your initial PSA at
Am I?
diagnosis?
Yeah,
No, you.
I was
57 total.
diagnosed in 29. Crap. I'll turn the video off. See if I can.
Yeah, let's try that because we
Can you hear me better
garbled.
Yeah.
So far, yeah.
Yeah. Len, can we go
Yeah.
back? Len, can we go back to how Matt heard about us and then continue from there?
Yeah, sure, sure. How did you learn about AnCan once again, Matt?
Yeah, I followed some links through a website. So I was on the Zero Cancer, I think that's what it's called, Zero Cancer
Yep,
website. I got through the
yep.
Reluctant Brotherhood website, and then I found this, the Reluctant Brotherhood.
Well, that's a circuitous route, but we're glad you're here. Okay, so
Thanks. Yeah, got here.
Matt, when were you first diagnosed, and what was your PSA at that time and your Gleason score?
Yeah, I was diagnosed in 2019. I was 51. I had a PSA of 33 at diagnosis and a Gleason 8, which was 3 plus 5. And some cores were 4
Okay,
plus 4, I believe.
that's an unusual one. We don't hear about that too often, but at least it's better than 5 plus 3.
Yeah.
And so, who was your urologist that diagnosed you, and at what institution?
The diagnosis was Dr. Benjamin Shearer. It's Sherer, and I'm with Kaiser. I have Kaiser Insurance out here in Denver.
Louis.
Okay. So, did Dr. Shearer at the time that he did your biopsy, did he also do a CT scan, an MRI, a bone scan, any of those, or all of those?
Yeah, all of those. They did the CT and the bone scan first, I believe, and then they did the MRI. Might be wrong about the order there.
Okay. What about a PSMA PET scan? Did they do that?
No, they didn't. I asked for that, but I was roundly rejected for a PSMA at that time. Not by him, but by a radiation oncologist who said he could lose his license if he gave that to me. It was interesting.
I don't know about that. I thought it was becoming standard of care for a high risk patient to have a PSMA PET, but
Yeah, it
well,
was
anyway,
back in
maybe it
20.
depends.
Yeah, I think it was back in 2019. I'm not sure it was standard then. I've since learned it's
Yeah.
standard now,
Oh,
which is
Right.
sounds like a great thing. Yeah,
yeah. That's a good point. Okay, so did those scans show anything outside the prostate capsule?
they did not.
Okay. And so, what was your first line of therapy? Was it radiation, prostatectomy?
Yeah, it was radiation with ADT. I had the external radiation and then high dose brachytherapy at the end of that. So it was a combination of those two forms of radiation, and then I was on the ADT for 2.5 years total, so 30 months. And then they also approved Zytiga for 2 years of that. So I was on a 2-drug regimen for the
Right.
androgen deprivation.
Okay, and I presume you had a medical oncologist prescribing those drugs for you?
Yeah, that's correct.
Ooh.
And who was that?
His name is Jesus Hermosillo Rodriguez.
Okay. Do you know if he is a GU medical oncologist, genitourinary specialist?
No, he's not. General medical oncologist.
Okay. We might as well let you know right up front here with AnCan, we always recommend
Yeah, Len,
that.
Len, this is a Kaiser patient, remember? With
Okay.
Kaiser, it's always an issue, and we'll come back to this, but you
Okay.
can't just ask for, you can't get a GU med onc at Kaiser. We have a workaround that we'll explain to Mark, but we've had many Kaiser patients in this group.
Okay. All right. So, Matt, what about genetic testing? Did you have any genetic testing done?
I did. I'm not too familiar with genetic testing, but I had what I understand is a germline, so no
Yep.
family
Okay.
hereditary, none of the common mutant, whatever you call them, variations of the BRCA and
Right.
such. That they all came back negative, but I did not have the biopsy, the tumor tested.
Okay. Is that another instance where Kaiser denied it, or is nobody
No,
ordered?
they didn't deny it. I should have asked harder, frankly. I didn't go for it.
Okay, so where is your PSA right now?
It is at 0.17 after a year. I think it's 13 months off of the ADT.
Oh, so you're already on drug holiday.
Yeah, they stopped it after 2 years of the Zytiga. I did 30 months total of ADT, 2 years of which was Zytiga, and then they let it go. And so I'm not even sure
Right,
it's holiday at this point. They stopped it,
right,
and we're seeing
right,
what happens.
right. From what I'm hearing, they haven't seen any metastasis yet. So all you have is recurrence, and that's probably one of the reasons why they don't have anything to biopsy. Well, they could buy no, they don't have anything to biopsy. So I think that would all make sense.
Yeah, that was one of the things I actually was interested in asking you all was, recurrence. And my understanding at this point is it's not confirmed
Right.
recurrence. I did have, and I might be getting, if I'm getting ahead, please let me know. I'll stop. But I had a PSA at about 0.06. They don't do the very high sensitivity tests at Kaiser. Point oh
Right.
0.06 through about 6 months passed. And then in June, which was a year afterwards, it rose to 0.35. But then after a month, it came back down to 0.17. So it's been bouncing around.
Richard Talbert, could somebody mute Richard or mute yourself, Richard? We're getting feedback. Okay, so you had a nadir PSA of 0.06, and then it went up to 0.35, and then went down to where it is now, 0.17. Is that right?
That's correct. And I think
And when it went,
the nadir was less than 0.06. It went
oh,
below the
gotcha. Okay.
sensitivity of the test, and then I had a couple months at 0.06, and then it went up to 0.35, and then down to 0.17. So
And when it went down from 0.35 to 0.17, were you on any medication?
no, no,
Oh,
a lot of
that's a good
supplements, but
thing.
no medication. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like what supplements?
Uh, Green tea, turmeric with black pepper, melatonin, vitamin D, lion's mane mushroom.
Yeah.
Kaiser, actually, not Kaiser. I did go to an MD who's been through the University of Arizona program for,
Yeah.
uh, I won't say naturopathic, but supplementary medicine. I'm not getting the phrase right there, and that person suggested several supplements to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The green tea was in the form of a supplement, or you're just drinking a lot of green tea?
Oh, supplement. Yeah, I can't drink that much.
Okay.
Well, I
So,
could, but the
Matt, do you have any
supplement.
questions for us?
Well, I think I'm just interested in hearing some reaction. I belong to a group out here in Denver, but most of the guys are great guys, but they're not in the same situation as me. Most of them had the prostatectomy, not much sort of knowledge about how things go or don't go after radiation. So uh, I would love to hear people's reaction or experience with the same kind of things that I'm going through, and what this kind of weird period is after radiation when you do have a PSA commonly, but it takes a while to maybe get where it's going. So that's if anybody has anything to add or to my situation, I'd be very glad to hear it.
Okay, well, let's open it up to everybody. Find out what their opinions are.
So
Anybody
I'll
like?
jump right in because I was also a Kaiser patient, also treated at UCSF, and my treatment was very similar, except instead of the HDR, I had LDR. Um, how many of your cores originally were positive? Was there a lot of cancer in that prostate or not?
Well, I don't know what a lot is, but I had a 12 core biopsy in both of the six on each side. Four of the six were had cancer in them. Let me see if I can get these numbers right. The three
That's
plus,
okay. That's good
yep.
enough. Eight out of 12, and so that's probably why you went to HDR rather than LDR, because I was right on the margin. I was 4+4. Um, Fortunately, there wasn't a 5 in my number. And what happened to you when you came off the ADT pretty much happened to me as well. And from what I understand, it's not unusual. Um, the benefit, the advantage you had, which I didn't have, was that my PSA rose over 11 months to almost 1.0. I think it was 0.97 from memory.
Mm-hmm.
And each month it would go up and it would go up. And I'd call my radonc, who was at UCSF, who's very well known, and he'd say, "Don't worry, it's going to come down, it's going to come down." And I didn't really get that upset because I figured if it is going to go up, then I'm just going to have to do something else. And I, by the way, never had a abiraterone because when I went through this, it was right around the time they were discovering abiraterone. I was at UCSF when Chuck Ryan told us all about abiraterone. And the highest it got was 0.97, and then it declined. So it went up for 11 months, and I can show you, Matt, subsequently, if we've got your email address, or put your email address in the chat window, I'll send you a little diagram that was drawn for me by a radonc out of MD Anderson, who I happened to sit next to at the table at some function, explaining to me why your PSA goes up and then it comes down after you've been on ADT for a long time. And mine got
Yes.
down, I cannot remember how quickly, but it did get down to insignificant. And I've been insignificant or unmeasurable ever since. So there is hope for you yet. It can take some time. I can tell you that. So you sort of have to be patient, and it's also possible it may never get lower than 0.17, but at the same time, it could climb too. Now, one of the things that, and I had the same issue as you, in that couldn't get a GU medonc. And in fact, I couldn't get a medonc at all. And eventually they gave me a medonc and he wasn't very good. But neither did anybody have to prescribe abiraterone for me, only the LHRH drug. And maybe in this day and age, I would have gotten one. There is a really good genitourinary medical oncologist who is available across Kaiser anywhere in the country. And her name, and I'll put it in the chat window for you. The chat window, by the way, are the two little squares at the top. Her name is Dr. Andrea Harzstark. And one of the gents who, he may not agree that she's as good as I feel, but one of the gents in this group is her patient. And we directed him to her too. And she is a well-respected GU medical oncologist in the Kaiser system. And you can tell her, you can ask your doc to connect with her. You can get a consult with her if you want one. You can tell her you're referred by AnCan because she knows us really well. And that's probably the best option. There are a couple more who have gone over, but one of them left and is now the chief medical officer for Janssen. And he's a great guy, and I forget what happened to the other one, but unfortunately, they're few and far between. So my 2 cents, for whatever it's worth, is keep taking those Andy Weil derived supplements because they probably can't hurt you. Keep exercising because you look like you're in good shape, and I suspect you do exercise, and it's really, really important. Keep eating right and hang in there. You'll learn a lot by attending this group, and watch that PSA carefully. I don't know how often you're testing. I mean, I tested monthly all the time I was there. How's your testosterone? Has it come back yet?
Yeah, they've tested it once, and it was 400 as of March. I never got a baseline, however, so I'm not sure how that how it compares. So
yeah, we always tell people to get baselines, and I was lucky because I had such a great urologist that I knew to do all of that stuff. Did you ever get a bone density test?
after the ADT, they sprung for bone density, and it was not concerning.
See, in my case, my doc was smart enough to ask for a bone density test at the beginning, and it turned out I was osteoporotic at age 56. And so I finished up getting Zometa, zoledronic acid, not as frequently as if I'd been metastatic, but I did get it over the period, and it was good. It was helpful, I think. So that's my 2 cents. And how often are you testing right now, your PSA?
The last one was monthly, so I have been doing it every 3 months. But then when it bumped up to 0.35, then we went monthly, and so I've just had one monthly since then. I assume we'll do monthly from here, but I'm not sure to be honest.
Are you cool with that? Does that sit well with you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd rather know, as nerve-wracking as it is sometimes. I think I'd feel worse if I were going 3 months and not knowing what was going on there. So Rick, I really appreciate this. It's more than 2 cents worth for sure. Firstly, to understand your situation about how you had a rising PSA for some time before it came back down. I think I would have been a wreck if I were you, just considering what the the rise did to me with just 1 month of doing that.
Yeah.
So that's I appreciate hearing about your experience there. And secondly, to have the name of Dr. Harzstark there, who I had no clue about in Kaiser, and to have that extra, potential
Right.
resource there. I have to say, the medical oncologist has been pretty good so far. I think he's, he's stretched every which way, but he actually approached me with the Zytiga option
Wow.
when the research I think was not very, it was still pretty recent about, uh, taking the abiraterone early. And so they gave me a choice of chemo or Zytiga, which I appreciated. So I think I will take up that opportunity to get the consult. But for what it's worth, because I'm sure Kaiser rightly gets a lot of criticism, no complaints about the general oncologist right now.
So you might, I don't know, you might want to hold off reaching out to Andrea, because there's nothing she's going to do right now than tell you just to hang in and see
Yeah.
how you go. But when it turns, God forbid it turns, you can always reach out to her, and we can grease the skids at this from this end too. We've done that before. It's not a
Well,
it's not an issue for us. We have good cred with Andrea. I've been working with her since 2012 when she was at UCSF, and
no,
she's a good
I,
person.
I'll take your advice and hold off on that and just keep it in the pocket. And I really appreciate the
Right.
offer there.
Now,
Well, this is
do
this is John. I have a question for Rick and Matt.
just hold on one second. Just hold 1 second, Joe. I put my email address in the chat window, Matt. Either send me directly or put it in the chat window, whichever is best for you, because I want to send you this little graph that I've got, which was drawn on a paper napkin. I kept it in my files for ages, and then one day I drew it up a little bit nicer, and I'll send it to you, and the two of us can talk. I can explain it to you, but it will make sense. It will help you put things in perspective. Go ahead, Dr. John.
Sorry for interrupting. Matt, this is John. So I wasn't going to ask this until the idea came up of deferring the GU Medoc consult. So when Rick says, God forbid it turns, what is there a definition of when, a preset definition of when and if you will go back on uh, ADT?
So I think that what would happen is that they'd wait for the PSA to rise um, to a level where they can do some scanning, because
Okay.
PSMA because Kaiser does use PSMA now. They didn't back in 2019. We had patients back then. It was a fight to get them. We sort of could do it. And I think if I remember correctly, Andrea was working with UCSF where they were trialing it and sending some people over there. But I think what would happen now is they'd wait and then they'd see where it is. Almost certainly they would put you back on after they'd done the scans, not before. After they'd done the scans, they would put you back probably on an LHRH in the secondary, and they might choose to do, depending on the extent of the disease, either spot radiation or add chemotherapy. Or chemotherapy initially in place of the second line RC.
Matt, I think one thing we forgot to ask you is there a history of prostate cancer or any other cancers in your family?
Not a prostate cancer that I know of, but yeah, cancer's all over the place in my family. I think uh, two of my four grandparents and my mother and my sister all have cancer, or have or had cancer, one form or the other. So yeah, it's there. But again, those genetic tests, the germline for whatever it's worth, didn't come back. So maybe we've got something
Right.
else, some other mutation out there that doesn't get tested for. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, any more questions or advice for Matt?
Matt, you don't happen to be a veteran, do you?
Not of the armed forces. No.
Well, that brings up a lot of questions. Never mind.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Okay, Matt. Well,
You're still working, yes,
sounds
Matt?
like
Oh yes. I'm still working. Got a ways to go, Lord willing.
Yeah, you got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
No, I
sorry you're
really
dealing
appreciate
with this.
everybody's. I appreciate everybody's thoughts and questions so far. So I'll look forward to listening to y'all. But thank you for the introduction. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we also run a group once a month for guys under 60 because you guys have some unusual situations to deal with, like often younger children and whether to have more children. I mean, there's all kinds of things that come up with guys in their 40s and 50s. So we run that group once a month.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Yeah,
good one to join. I'll probably join that.
I'll sign you up, Matt, because I have your email, so don't worry about it. So I'll sign you up. I'll put that in. I'm also going to include the Men Speaking Freely group, which is a group to talk about everything and anything except treatment. And we have a care partners group. If you have a significant other that would like to join it, we have a bunch
Mhm.
of other groups, and I'll include webinars. Now, if you want to unsubscribe from any of these groups, adjust it in the sign up, in the contact us. Don't hit unsubscribe at the bottom of the email. Because if you hit unsubscribe, if you get a Men Speaking Freely and you don't want that anymore and you hit unsubscribe, you get completely taken off of our list. That's a quirk of MailChimp. So,
Okay.
or send us a note and say, get me off this Men Speaking Freely group. I don't want to be there anymore. We can adjust the reminder, or you can go in and adjust the reminder. But if you unsubscribe, we have to write to you and you have to resubscribe, because otherwise we're not allowed to. We're prevented from resubscribing you. Okay?
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And
Rick's
Jim
just
Marshall, you have your
jealous.
hand up.
Yes, I mean,
Jim
Matt,
Marshall.
yes, Matt, by chance, are you a federal employee? I know there's a bunch of them out there.
I am not. You're right. Denver is a federal center, but I actually work for the local governments out here.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Anything else for Matt, guys? All right, Matt, thanks for joining us and keep coming back. We're going to go to another new member, Bill Zaremba.
Yes, how you
Bill,
doing?
hi, Bill. Well, you know the drill now, okay? I'm going to go through the same set of questions and
See if I have some
just,
answers for you.
okay, I'm sure you do. How old are you, Bill?
I'm 66.
All right, and where do you live?
I'm about 40 miles west of Toledo, Ohio.
Okay. And how did you hear about AnCan?
I heard it through a friend of my wife's. There's a guy who was a member. I don't have his name. Do you remember his name at all? He recently passed away. Do you, but you don't remember his name, right? No. So I don't remember his name. But that's how I heard it, and I just looked it up there in the past week and put my name down.
Okay. So did
I think
this friend?
I might know who it was. Let me just take a quick guess here. Bear with me 1 second, because I gotta go look. I gotta jog my memory through our in memoriam. Was it hold on. Was it Tom Swartzel?
What was the name?
Tom Swartzel.
Tom Swatzel? Is that stuff?
Yeah,
No. No.
that was okay. All right, just trying.
Yeah.
So Bill, how old were you when you were diagnosed? What was your Gleason score? And what
Yeah.
was your PSA at that time?
Okay. Well, I was 65. I just turned 66 here a little bit ago, and everything started. I started having some issues around the holidays, and went to see my urologist, and we were going to do what's that called? TURP, yeah, TURP procedure, and we ended up doing a PSA, and my PSA score came back 1,120, and
Wow.
yeah, that's when I first saw this. I didn't realize scores went that high. I was used to the 1 to 10, and my doctor
We've
called
seen a
me.
lot higher if it's any consolation.
Pardon? Oh, you've seen them
We've seen a
higher.
lot higher, as high as 10,000.
Really? Wow,
Yep.
as high as 10,000. Wow. So anyways, yeah, the Gleason score was I had a 9.
Gleason 9, 4 plus 5.
That's what I was asking the wife there before. She said it was a grade 5, and that's all she gave me an answer on.
Okay. So which urologist did you see first for the diagnosis, and where was he located?
He's Dr. Charles Lash in Fulton County Health Center.
Okay. And so I imagine they did some scans for you as well, like a CT scan, MRI, bone scan.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did. He did the CT and the bone scan, and then we had the biopsy, and that was sent out obviously, and then I was referred to urologist or oncologist, and yeah, well, that's later. My wife's answers all these
Okay.
questions. You can't hear that, I'm so quiet. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Did they see any lesions outside of your prostate
Did they see any lesions outside my prostate? No.
from the scans?
Do you remember anything on that, hon? Yeah, I had metastasis. I was metastasized. I'm sorry. I um I was pretty much I had my pelvis down my right leg, my hip, left hip, 2 of my lungs, my left shoulder, and T11, which is my spine.
Okay. So when you mentioned TURP, so apparently you were having difficulty urinating, but you had no
Yes.
bone pain or anything?
I was having a lot of pain with my hip, and I was going to the gym, working out, and I thought it was something I injured at the gym, and so I kept going. Just watching it a little bit, trying not to do some exercises that seemed irritated. I was stretching a lot, and it was when they started me on ADT, and right about these times where I was going through everything, it seemed like the hip was just really going fast, where the pain was really coming on. Shortly after I was, like I went, all of a sudden I started using a cane to get around, and then within a week I was using a walker.
Right. Okay. What about the history of cancer and specifically prostate cancer in your family?
None. My dad had some prostate issues, but as far as I know, they didn't have any cancer there. And
Okay. But
he would be 114 now, so.
yeah. Did they do any germline testing anyway for genetic testing?
For me,
Yeah.
yes, they did, and with the genetic testing, they didn't see anything that would
Okay.
I'd be passing on.
What about, did they do any genetic testing on your biopsy sample?
Yes, with the biopsy they did, and that it came back that how was that again? What the biopsy on the that they took? Remember they came back with the genetic testing, and they said that might be eligible for CDK12 gene. My wife's really good with all this stuff. That's why I've got her there with my
Oh,
expert.
Well,
she's
that's
very
good.
welcome. She's very welcome in the group. She can join you, sit next to you, participate. We love having care partners in
Yeah,
this group.
she's really good. I mean, on there, I guess if I took the headset off, she could hear then. Or I thought about I have a stereo headset that I could put in her ear. Yeah, but she's really, my wife had melanoma cancer, and so she
Okay.
was a volunteer for quite a while for Melanoma International Foundation, and she's got pretty good on a lot of the stuff that is out there. She's really been a blessing and a help to me with a lot of stuff that we go through because, as you know, a normal average person wouldn't get everything that's going on, especially when you're in that kind of a crisis situation.
Sounds like you married well, Bill.
Yeah,
Good for
I
you.
did. She's a good woman. Thank you.
Very good. So, who is your medical oncologist?
Yes, his name is Dr. Chala. He's a oncology, hematology, internal medicine specialist.
Okay, but do you know if he more specifically specializes in cancers of the genitourinary tract, prostate, testicular cancer, bladder cancer, that sort of thing?
Yes, I do believe so. That's he's pretty much with prostate and
Okay,
yeah, yep. He's part of Toledo Clinic.
How do you
okay.
spell his name? Charwa?
It's CHAWA LA
Chawa.
Chala. Yeah, is it? Yeah, CHAWLA. That's how I have it. You don't have it spelled that way. You spell it wrong.
Okay, Chawla. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
got it.
you got him now. Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned ADT. What else did they prescribe for you?
Yes, ADT Firmagon, that is the particular shots, and I was going. I had radiation for 5 treatments. That was at the beginning while we were waiting for everything to go through for the chemo, and then the chemo Taxotere, and I did that for 6 treatments for 18 weeks. I just finished.
Good for you. How'd you manage with
Thank you.
that?
I'll tell you the last two, like they said, the last two kick butt. Uh, I was definitely, I'm actually still recovering here. I'm in my 3rd week, since then, and it's like trying to just get your fatigue level. That's what really kicked my butt. I didn't really have much problems with anything else as far as vomiting or anything else like that, but vision. I've had a lot of vision issues, eyes, blurriness, eyes twitching a lot, stuff like that. That seems to be my main thing that bugs me the most.
So you
I know
still
I had
have the,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you still have the eye symptoms?
I do. It's not as bad. It seems like it's getting better. I know I scheduled an appointment to have them checked at the end of August, so I figured this will kind of put me out a little bit, and we'll see how everything looks.
Okay, so you completed, sounds like SBRT, radiation. You
Mhm.
completed chemo. You're still on Firmagon?
I did the last shot of that. They're going to put me on Eligard starting next month, and that'll be like every 6 months instead of every month. And then I'm going to they're putting me on the oral med Xtandi,
Okay.
which will be taken every day. Quite expensive, I must add.
Yeah. How's your insurance? Oh, you
Well,
have Medicare, right?
they have yes.
If insurance is not covering enough and Xtandi is very expensive for you, there are other alternatives that, like for instance, abiraterone is off patent now, so it's cheaper. Something to talk about with your doc.
Really? Yeah.
What's your
What's that?
copay?
Pardon?
What is your copay for the extended? Oh, you haven't taken it yet, though.
No, it's starting up, but I mean, you know, what it the very first treatment of it puts us in the catastrophic right away, instantly.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, I could tell you the price. I don't mind, you know, if that's fine to say. Is it okay to say the price with my
Yeah,
out of what
Sure.
our
Yeah.
shares? Okay, I
yeah,
know
sure.
it's pretty close to $3,225 for the first one. Then after that, it's $768 a month.
Okay.
Right. So there's a few things. There's a few things on that. I would like to reiterate using Abby first because clinically, unless there's a reason why, and there may be a medical reason why the doctor doesn't want to put you on abiraterone or Zytiga, what was called Zytiga. Abiraterone is thought to be better before enzalutamide and not after enzalutamide. So
Really,
but you have to take a steroid. Do you have any other conditions that you to worry about?
I've been taking steroids now since actually January, and of what do you call it, the prednisone, and that's why you
Right,
can almost see my face is all swollen
right.
out and everything from it. And I know they were going to be taking me off it. Probably when I start all this treatment, I was going to be taken off the prednisone.
Right.
You know,
But if you, and so what the first thing is you have to come off the prednisone very slowly, and sometimes they forget to tell you this.
really?
But you, yes,
Okay.
don't stop prednisone cold turkey. And we've known doctors, even the very best doctors in this country, forget to tell their patients. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that sequencing abiraterone followed by enzalutamide is better, and it's going to be easier on your pocketbook. Thirdly, there are a whole number of sources of copay. We've got one gentleman on here right now who faced the same problem you faced, and he got some assistance, and his copay is a lot less on the enzalutamide. Have you transitioned to Medicare yet, or are you still on a regular policy?
No, I'm a Medicare. Yeah, Medicare Advantage plan.
You're on an Advantage plan. So again, you know, the Medicare Advantage plans are more difficult, a lot more difficult. And probably you don't want to be on a Medicare Advantage plan with a disease like yours. You're better off on a supplementary plan. One of the things I don't believe that Dr. Chawla is a genitourinary medical oncologist. I'm looking right here at his CV. Except there are several Chawlas. There's one who's at Carmenos, which would be a good sign, or he may have been at Carmenos at some point. He may have done a fellowship at Carmenos, but it's a little confusing. But the same doctor who's at Toledo also shows up as being at Carmenos. And if he was at Carmenos, then there are some very good doctors at Carmenos. We would we would suggest that you pretty much insist on getting a GU medical oncologist on your team. That a GU medical oncologist is most likely going to put you on abiraterone first. Not always, because there could be other medical conditions but the chances are that's what they would do.
A GU medical
Yeah, GU
medicologist.
stands for genitourinary. medical oncologist. Somebody will put that in the chat window for you.
Okay, thank
Janito,
you.
there you go. Jim Marshall did it. Genitourinary medical oncologist. That is a medical oncologist who specializes in genitourinary disease, which includes prostate cancer. So this doc, he may have recently come over from, and it doesn't list where he did his, fellowships and anything else. So it gives me some concern. But I think that you really want a specialized doctor here. It's really important. When they did these 5 treatments of radiation, where did they aim the radiation? Was this at some of your metastases, like in your spine or your back, or was it at the prostate gland?
Yes, it was. What did I have? 5 different places with the radiologist. Like they know they did the left shoulder. He was
Right,
concerned about the T11 because he said
right,
he was concerned if that grew that I could get paralyzed. And
right,
so he hit that area. And then I know my hip and my
right.
pelvis
So
area.
let me stop you. So a whole
So
nother conversation with a good with a good medical oncologist is what's called treating the gland, treating your prostate. Your prostate hasn't had any treatment. And so what we see now, and there are a lot of men on here who have done this, who are metastatic, they treat the prostate gland and they may even radiate across the pelvis. It's not something they did 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. But today it's much more common that if you're diagnosed with a lot of cancer like you were, that after the chemotherapy, they'll come in and they will radiate the prostate. And that's a discussion. And if your doctor says, oh, we don't do that because it do no harm, that's not what the evidence says anymore. The thinking has changed.
really.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else want to? Anyone? Is there anyone on today whose cancer was debulked?
Yeah.
Anyone who had debulking?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
had that.
I also had it debulked at Mayo.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. And I had a very similar course to this gentleman. I originally thought I had a pulled groin muscle or something, and ended up with a PSA in the high 300s the first time they like finally checked it, and that was a freak out. And then I saw a urologist who really was not very good. I finally got into see a great uh, genitourinary medical oncologist, and we went through the chemo. We went through Lupron, and then I switched. I didn't go to abiraterone. I was able to get on a drug called darolutamide. I was lucky, and I debulked the prostate, and now I am undetectable after 7 years for some miraculous reason. So there's a lot of hope in what you're talking in your situation.
What's your current PSA, Bob?
Me, it's
Bill.
0. I just had it done today. 0. It's 0.048.
Okay, well that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a great response. But we still recommend the debulking because in the long run, it has a benefit. So it's definitely worth a discussion. Now you say you're 40 miles west of Toledo.
What? Yeah.
So how far? Where would be closer for you? Columbus or the Detroit metropolitan area?
Oh, what happened to Bill?
I think we lost him.
I think we lost Bill.
I don't see his square.
Detroit's
Uh-oh.
only an hour away.
Detroit's only an hour away, did you say, Peter?
Yes, and there's a woman who I've seen on who did a
Lee.
webinar
Yeah,
recently who's really good.
she's
Henry
fabulous.
It's
Ford.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's 2.5 hours to Columbus.
So, I would send him to Elizabeth, what's her name, at Carmenos. And they may be affiliated with Carmenos. It's more likely that his Advantage plan is going to be affiliated. You're right, Peter, and she's just the best. She's so good.
Yeah, and she works a lot with advanced guys.
Yes, yeah, she's really she's really solid. Hold on a minute, I'll tell you her name. Just Elizabeth. Oh, damn it! I don't. Carmenos. Oh, I think it's Elizabeth. That's why. All right. Well, I'll look it up and.
Elizabeth Heath.
Heath. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Elizabeth Heath.
But
Yeah. She's yeah. I'd recommend her in a heartbeat. Oh, it's with an S. That's why Elizabeth Heath at Carmenos. So he'll
All right,
probably
guys.
come back.
While we're waiting for Bill to return, let's move ahead. Richard Talbert, you said you needed time.
I do. Thank you, Lynn. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I had my 3-month checkup on Tuesday. My PSA is undetectable. All
Great.
of my other parameters are at baseline or better. Uh, I'm still on Orgorvix and Extended. I was able to get a grant for my Extended, and I was also able to get on the Patients Assistance Fund for Orgorvix, which will help me tremendously through the remainder of the year. So I'm very happy with where I am right now. And in terms of my PSA, as I says, I've been undetectable for about the last 18, 22 months, and not having many side effects from the ADT or the enzalutamide. Uh, of course, the hot flashes are there, and I get a little bit fatigued, but I'm pushing through with my exercise routine, walking, and doing some resistance training. So that's my latest update.
Fantastic, Richard. It's all good news. You mentioned you got a grant or some kind of assistance for Xtandi. Maybe you could tell Bill, who is now back, Bill Zaremba, how you did that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bill.
I'm back. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Yep, that's all right.
Bill, this is Richard Colbert, and I'm on enzalutamide or Extended, and I have a Medicare
Extendee.
Advantage plan.
It's
I'm sorry?
Extendee. Extendee.
Oh,
Extendee is what it's called.
Extending.
thank you, Ray. Yeah, Extendee
There
or
you go.
enzalutamide. And I have a Medicare Advantage plan through Cigna, and my costs are pretty much like yours. But I was able to get a grant initially a year and a half ago from the Patient Assistance Fund.
Hmm.
But in January, they didn't get funded, so I didn't get any funds. But in May of this year, I was able to get funding from them. Uh, so that's a source that you might want to look at going. It's called the Patient Assistance Fund. And then there's another one called the Patients Assistance Network, which I've gotten some funding from also.
That's so patient assistant fund and patient assist. Assistant Network, right?
Network.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
PAN, P-A-N.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, Richard. So
Thank you.
let's get
Yes,
back to
thank you,
Bill and
Richard.
then Rick.
Appreciate it. I'm sorry,
Rick,
go ahead.
you wanted to recommend a GU specialist
Yes.
for Bill.
So, Bill, I'm just putting her name and the profile in the chat window. There's a doc we really, really like at Carmenos in Detroit. And I think that's where your guy Chorla came from. And I would bet dollars to donuts he trained with her.
Okay.
And hold on a minute. The chat window, it's now in the chat window. That's a live link. You can just click on it and it'll open up. You can look at it later.
Okay.
Okay. And she is really good. We've all heard her give webinars. I know patients, we've had patients see her. She's really well liked. And I think that she's probably within about an hour's drive of you. And my
Right.
guess is that your Advantage plan may cover you at Carmenos. That's just a guess. But I think they might cover you at Carmenos. Have you heard of Carmenos before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm put that in for you. You'll see it, but it's Carmenos Cancer Institute, I think, or something like that. But if you have the ability to switch your care to her, that's the way to go. And I guarantee you and your wife will really like her.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'll tell my wife about her then too, and yeah, we'll definitely check her out. Thank
Check
you.
her out. Now, do we have your email address so we can put you in to get reminders and stuff?
That you should. I mean, I don't know how what you're pulling off, but is there a way I could get it to you then, or?
Yeah, you can just
right up.
Unless if you've already signed up, you get it. If not, just put it in the chat window, and we'll put you in the next day or so.
I'm signed up because I know I'm getting that stuff in from you.
Oh, you are? Okay. And did you want to be included in the men speaking freely or not? Or do you speak freely enough wherever you are at home?
Well, I've already said I'm married, so I know that.
So no, yeah. You see that, but you see, Bill, that's why we call it men speaking freely, and that's why the guys come on, because they can say, well, now it's not just for the guys. We have a group, a care partners group for the care partners, and we don't allow the men or whoever they're looking after in there. So the women get a chance to, or the care partners get a chance to say what they want to say in that group as well. We don't discriminate here.
That's good. Well, yeah, I would be interested. Yes, if you could send me information on that.
Okay. We'll do it. And so that's it. Anyone else have anything?
Marshall's got a question. Go ahead, Jim.
Excuse me, Rick. Are you going to talk about with a 6-month ADT shot he happened to mention?
Oh yeah, yes. Thank you. It came up. Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Jim. Yes. Another reason I don't think your guy is a GU med onc is because has he given you that 6-month shot yet or not?
The way they do it here is it's the urologist that's doing the shot, and the urologist changed it. He was giving me the Firmagon, and he changed up, thinking that I wouldn't have as many side effects using the new one, which is Eligard.
Has he given it you yet?
No, that would be next month.
Okay, well, we can't give you medical advice, but our experience is you don't want a 6-month shot, whether it's a 6-month Lupron shot or a 6-month Eligard shot. or whoever else makes it. Because what
Mhm.
happens is at the back end of that shot, sometimes they don't work so well, and it doesn't control your testosterone. So you're better off getting a 3-month or a 4-month shot. And the urologists, they're probably more profitable. They don't really care. They don't really know.
Mhm.
But we always tell our guys, that's why Jim Marshall reminded me, that we always tell our guys not to go with a 6-month shot. I meant to tell you, but I got sidetracked on Elizabeth Heath. Thank you, Captain Jim. Did you have
Go
a
ahead,
knowledge?
Jim. He's back. Go ahead, Jim.
Yes, Bill. The catch is, I had the same thing and Ray Kaiser wise, and I just said, look, I want the 3 or 4 month. Go get it. Okay. And they said, well, I need to talk to the doctor. I said, great. Talk to the doctor. And sure enough, back came, I believe, a 3-month shot. So stick your foot down.
Okay. And but you were saying with the Xtandi, or you were saying that you would recommend at this level that, what was the name of the pill that you would recommend?
Abiraterone.
How's do you know what?
I will put it in the chat again.
Okay, yeah, you know what? Because when I got clicked off, it erased all that.
Yeah.
But we can help you find the old one. The old one, well, it may not be, but the old one might be in your old chat window.
Okay.
But
Well, let's
we'll
first
put it all
ask
in.
this, Bill. Do you have high blood pressure or are you a diabetic?
I take blood pressure pills, and so when I've been doing pretty good with everything. I really don't have high blood pressure because of the pills.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
So you have
I
it
do take a statin
being
too.
treated, but you have it. And
Yes,
what
I
about
am being treated.
diabetes?
No diabetes. Mm-mm.
All right.
Yeah, be
They
careful with
may,
abiraterone then.
yeah, they may not want to put you on abiraterone because it can cause a spike in your blood pressure. But anyway, talk about it with your doctor or Dr. Heath if you decide to switch.
Okay,
Just a heads up. Yeah.
I know Xtandi could do the same thing. From what I've read on it, it's got so many side effects.
Yeah, but not to the extent that abiraterone does.
Oh,
Tends to
okay.
happen more often.
Mm-hmm.
Right, John? Dr. John, weren't you on Abby and then you had to switch because your blood pressure was out of control?
Exactly. Yeah, we kept on adding more and more and more meds, and then my legs swelled up, and that was it for abiraterone for me.
Mm-hmm.
Len, I was
Yep.
fortunate. I was in the same situation as John, taking pills for blood pressure, and my legs started to swell up on abiraterone. I got placed on a low dose of a diuretic, and it brought it back under control and has stayed there. So I was able to tolerate it.
Amen, Gary. The same thing with me. Anyway, I'm on the hypertension drugs, although I was on the drugs since 1984 anyway.
So, Joe, do you just want to tell people how to save the chat?
Yeah, I'll just say that real quick because I see that I was watching Bill and he's rapidly writing stuff down, and rather than getting distracted all the time, everything that you have received in the chat can be saved. If you go up
Mm-hmm.
to the top where it says chat, and to the right there's 3 dots.
Mm-hmm.
Click on the 3 dots, and it'll give you the option of download chat messages, and that will go to your documents file.
You don't
Okay.
have that on all systems. I don't have it on my iPad.
Yeah, I don't have that either.
I don't see it on mine. I mean, I have a I'm using the phone obviously, but I don't see that on there to download it.
Okay, it may
Okay,
not be on. It may not be on the phone. It may not be on the iPad. It's usually on it's on a desktop. But here's another workaround. We post the whole of the chat in the recordings. These groups are recorded, and we'll post the whole of the chat on the recording, and you can find the recordings either on our YouTube channel, on our website where it says there's a recorded groups option, or sign up to our blog, and you'll get a note when it gets recorded, and everything will be there. I know Len has to move on, and we don't have time to talk to you about it right now, Bill, but we strongly encourage exercise here, and we need to talk to you about exercising. It is vitally important. Cannot stress that enough. And maybe next week, if you're back, we can talk a little bit about exercise.
Okay, are these every week? You have the meetings every Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
Not every Monday. The meetings are the first and third Mondays at 8 o'clock Eastern, and the second and fourth Tuesdays at 6 o'clock Eastern. And now that you've got that down, we're going to throw a total wrench in the works, unfortunately, and I'm sorry, but August is going to be different because of the way the days fall.
I saw the note on that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but that's only August, and it doesn't happen that often, and we have to do that, otherwise we get 2 meetings on successive nights.
Yeah, all that info will be in the reminder notice that you get from Rick every week.
Okay.
All right, Bill, we're going to move on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we hope you come back. All right, Joel, you wanted time. Joel Blanchette.
Yes, thank you, Len. After I got my radiation to the SBRT to my right occipital condyle bone, before I got the radiation, my right neck hurt slightly. I could live with it, but a hot shower helped out in the morning. After I started with Orgovyx and darolutamide, the pain went down through about December of last year. After that, it started picking back up again, and when it reached 1 May of this year, it was double what it was before I had the SBRT. So I went to see my radiation oncologist, and he gave me an MRI. And so I couldn't tell because I'm not a doctor, I couldn't tell by the MRI report if they were saying there was active cancer at the right occipital condyle bone or if there was cancer that existed there in the past. So I talked to Dr. E. Dr. E, well, he says, I can't tell either, so send me the CD. I did send her the CD. She hasn't replied yet as to what is going on, except that she's having me seeing a neurologist because I have bulging in my spine at all my vertebrae. So I am going to see Dr. E on the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th of August. She's going to give me a FDG PET scan, a PSMA PET scan, which happens to be gallium-68, Illuccix, and the first 4 PSMA PET scans I had were all DCF-PYL PYLarified. And she's going to give me an MRI of my entire spine from head to the bottom of my spine, and she also going to send me to another appointment with a neurologist, and of course I'm going to have an appointment with her as I leave Houston on the 10th. I started making arrangements, so that's just an update. I don't have any doctor's opinions yet, but I started making arrangements. I called the American Cancer Society because one of our guys said you can live for free while you're being treated for cancer at a extended stay facility, extended stay suites. And the American Cancer Society says we don't do that anymore. We had 20,000 rooms to give out, and we gave them all out. However, if you want to stay in extended stay suites, we can still they'll give you a 45% off. So that's a fact as of a couple of days ago. But they said we have our own hotels, which will let you and a partner stay for free. And we have 30 of those hotels that we own called the Hope Lodge. And we have 30 of those around the country in different cities, including one in Puerto Rico. And so she says, they have to do, doctor has to send us a form saying that you have prostate cancer, and we can make a reservation for you. I don't know if that's all going to happen, but anyway, I did write the doctor back and said, hey, your nurse, you probably need your nurse, a navigator to get all this done. And so I'm awaiting replies from the doctor. So that's a big plus because I probably will make many trips to Houston, and if I can get in for free for lodging, that would be great. Besides that, they will give me free transportation to the hospital back and forth for all my appointments. I have 5 or 6 appointments. So for all my scans and everything, it just so happens the lodge is only 1.5 miles from Houston Methodist Hospital. So that's another plus because I won't have to take Uber and pay for all those rides. Just want to pass that on. So when I come back in August, I should be full of information from Dr. E.
Well, that's a great update, Joel. And this is why we like Dr. E. Look how thorough she is. I mean, how many docs have we heard that will order both an FDG and a PSMA PET scan? Very few.
Yep.
Right, Rick?
Yeah. Actually, I spent about 45 minutes catching up with her on the phone today, and she is unbelievably thorough. And yeah, we love her. Are there any guys in this room who have used Hope Lodges? We do have. I know we've had folks who have used the Hope Lodges in different places. Oh, go ahead, Les. What's your experience been?
My experience was in Rochester, Minnesota. They had to put a reservation in, but only started. You could put your reservation in when you got there. You couldn't make a reservation ahead of time. Now this was that particular Hope Lodge. I don't know how the others are handled, but it took us probably 10 days in order to get in. But then it was free from then on.
You mean you had to wait there for 10 days, Les?
How was that again?
You had to, show up every day for 10 days before you could get in?
No, you had to have, we had to stay in a motel, a particular different motel for the time period until they had room for us, which happened to be 10 days.
Oh.
So we had to pay for a motel for the first 10 days.
That's awkward.
Anyone else? I mean, obviously they've changed the system since then. Now they make advanced reservations, but I think this is the same issue as burning through the 20,000 rooms, and now you go to a 45% discount. And I know that discount is operative because I know someone who just used it at Extended Stays of America. But we've had other people stay at Hope Lodges, and they've usually been very, very happy. They find them really good. I seem to think we have somebody in Columbus.
Yeah, they're very good.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for Joel, guys?
Yeah, this is Julian. Joel, I'm in Houston. If you ever need any assistance, just call me.
Okay, yes, I'm aware of that, Julian. I appreciate the offer. You're another Dr. E patient. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
At
you.
the
All
end, you'll
right.
get a
Thanks
hug
for
from
that,
her.
Joel. Julian.
Sir? I'm sorry?
Yeah,
I said thank
I
you,
just,
Julian. That was very nice.
yeah, I tell you what, Julian, there may be cause to have a Houston dinner was General Joel is present because we've got Richard Tolbert, we've got you, we've got Joel, we've got the other fellow that we haven't seen in a while, who often comes on with his wife. We got quite a few, so if it's something you want to do, let me know and we can give you a list. And you know, it's not only in the Virginia area that they can get people together. You know that, or South Florida.
The American Cancer Society lady on the phone, all she asked me is what stage was my prostate cancer, and I answered stage 4. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but that's the only question, private question she asked me.
Okay, Rick, I've got 5 more to go. I think we better move on. Uh, Jeff Markey, you're up next.
Yeah, a quick recap. A month ago, I started taking only 3 Zytiga instead of 4. After 18 days, my PSA went from 0.2 to 1. Rick knows I really had to twist Dr. Harzstark's arm to allow me to get a PSMA PET, even though after 13 years, this was my 5th relapse. She agreed. Had set me up for Friday for a PSMA PET, and just by coincidence, today I had a meeting with her at 9:30 in the morning. First thing she said was, before 2 weeks ago, I was in the hospital for 4 days with AFib. I had AFib for 2.5 days. It would not stop. So I spoke to Dr. Harzstark this morning, and the first thing she said was, "You got to stop by Zytiga immediately." She says it's going to cause another AFib. I never had high blood pressure problems, but it has really screwed me up. So then we went on to the PSMA PET test. And I must admit, she was as warm as she could possibly be. And one of the reasons is I have a new tumor right in my prostate bed. I would have never found it. And also, the tumor that was on my L4, they say, well, it may or may not be. They want me to get an MRI to find out. So after checking for, I spoke to Dr. Harzstark about, how about darolutamide? She says, fine. And which probably will shock Rick because he didn't think she would go along with that. In fact, she was very reticent about it a month ago. But then I got a call from the pharmacist telling me it would be $2,500 for the first month. And I said to her, well, we're only testing this before I go on olaparib, so maybe let's try enzalutamide instead for a month. And she said, well, she wasn't sure, but I haven't heard back from the pharmacist about that yet. I have not ordered it either, but since they are both under, they're still patented. They may be extremely expensive as well. But if they're close, the thing is, I'm very near the loophole. And the pharmacist says, yeah, you'll pay $2,500 this month and maybe a couple of hundred next month, but after that it'll be $12 a month. And of course, that's till January. But our Dr. Harzstark couldn't have been better. I mean, she was great. And I really had to twist her arm to get me to get a PSMA PET. But I guess once she realized that it was really a smart move, she realized that my request was really genuine. So I don't think I have much more. One quick look.
So,
I've been getting when I was in the hospital, they put me on this drug. I've been getting like 15 hot flashes a day. I was getting 1 or 3 because I'm on Depo-Provera. But that's been really wonderful. Rick, what were you going to ask?
Did you say that you had the PSMA last Friday, or you're getting
Yes,
it this Friday? You had it
I
last
had it
Friday,
last Friday.
and it showed something in the prostate bed, and anything else?
Well, the L4, which is the L4 is what Dr. Harzstark convinced the radiologist was the metastasis on the L4. She convinced him that was cancer, that was prostate cancer. Now they say that they're equivocal about it, and they want me to have an MRI to find out for sure.
Right. So are they going to radiate? Are they going to
They
radiate?
can't. Like they can't. I've already had radiation to the bed, so it can't be. That's
Okay.
your lifetime radiation.
Okay.
I'm sort of. There's no treatment, I guess, other than finding the right drugs to keep the metastasis from growing.
Okay. I just want to make a point here, guys. It's best not to, if you can, please don't direct message me with questions during the meeting. It's real hard. I'm keeping notes here on everybody, trying to stay, and I just can't respond to you. John Babb has put a question in. I'm going to put that question in for everyone, and I'm sure somebody will be able to respond to him. But I need a little empathy here from the people in the group to try and understand that I can't be giving personal attention to everybody, nor can Len as he's moderating. So put your questions in either to the organizers or to everyone. And I'm copying John Babb's question in here right now, and somebody will respond to him.
All
There you
right.
go, John.
Thank you, Rick.
Somebody will respond to you.
All right. Meanwhile, I'm going to move on to Al Latimer.
Hi, Len. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
I last time I was on, I don't remember. It's been at least now. I think I've been doing this and that and the other thing. Meanwhile, since my last chemo, where my PSA got down to 7, it's back up to 25 now, and I've decided to start Pluvicto again with the counsel of Dr. Scholes and University of Miami, and I had my first treatment last week. So I presume no one else in the group has had tried it a second time yet. My first time was actually just 2 years ago. It's July of 21 when I started it the first time around. I can tell already the side effects are starting in faster. I'm feeling dry mouth already. I won't know the result. I won't know how it affects my PSA for a while, for another couple of weeks. So I want to report that I've started that again. I had some genetic testing done. I don't have the results yet. I see Belusic in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about that and other things. The main thing that's going on with me right now is that since I've been off the chemo, I've had a hard time getting back to normal. When I was on the chemo, my blood pressure started getting too low, and so the cardiologist reduced my blood pressure medication, and that kind of stabilized. Then I stopped the chemo back in April, and my blood pressure started going up again, and so the cardiologist increased the blood pressure medication again. It's kind of stabilized now, but it's kind of thrown me into a roller coaster. And then I also stopped or I've been weaning off the prednisone, which I've been on during the chemo, and I've had they told me I'm going to have to wind down on it, but I've had a real hard time with it. My energy levels just haven't really come back since I stopped the chemo. It's just been a constant struggle for me. And now I started the Pluvicto, and I've seen that has some side effects too, with with their energy levels. So kind of dragging these days. But that's
Now,
the update.
Al, do you know if your insurance company will pay for your second round of Pluvicto?
Well, that was a prerequisite to me starting it. I assume that it does. I'm doing it locally here in Miami this time. Not, last time I did it at UCLA. I'm presuming they're going to pay for it. The first time it was in a trial situation. I mean, there was no insurance involved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I have a couple of questions, Al. First of all,
sure.
just remind me again, what did you say how high did your chemo get? Your PSA get?
Oh, most recently,
Yeah.
it was 25 just before I started the Pluvicto again.
Okay, great. That's good. That's fine. Now, there's a concern that I have, and I was talking about this with E earlier, is that sometimes we will see that the chemo followed by the Pluvicto or repeat Pluvicto can compromise your bone marrow. And what's going on with your blood counts? You're saying as you got this fatigue. How are your whites and your reds and your hematocrit
Well,
and everything else?
well, the red is slightly low, but it has been that way for a long time. It's not I've been told it's not a big issue. That my blood count, they did the blood work just before I started Pluvicto again, and they said all the numbers were good to go.
What's your
I can't really.
hemoglobin?
What is it?
Yeah.
I can tell you if you want to know. I can look it up. I don't know offhand.
So, maybe next week you can, dig out the numbers and we can talk about it. But my concern, and from a navigation standpoint, I would be talking to Belusic about how do we best keep a really close eye on my bone marrow and my counts, because the symptoms that you're complaining of are similar to what you might feel if your bone marrow was compromised. Dr. John or Dr. Jack, can one of you say something about that as a meta?
My most recent hemoglobin was 11.7, so
That's good.
it's below normal.
But 11.7 is still well enough. It's when it starts to get below 10, you have to worry. And when it starts to get below 8, then normally they'll give you an infusion. But John or Jack, do you want to say anything about giving Al some guidance as to what to look out for?
Well, I mean, as far as his white count, which he hasn't mentioned anything about, certainly has to look out for any infections, especially in his mouth, or any signs of chills or fever. I mean, his hemoglobin, hematocrit, he has to certainly look out for difficulty breathing, feeling very, very weak, but mostly trouble breathing because his hemoglobin may be too low, but not at the level he's at right now. And if it happens very slowly, he's not going to feel it. He's going to adapt to it. If it happens more rapidly, he's going to feel it. It's platelets. He has to look for a little micro, bruising very easily if he's not taking any anticoagulants. He'll bruise easily, and he'll find himself having trouble stopping bleeding if he cuts himself. That's essentially what I would look out for along those three parameters. John,
my white blood cells are 4.0. My red blood cells are 4.2.
It's pretty
most
good.
recently.
That's pretty good. I mean, my white count's 2.4.
Yeah, that's real good considering what you've been through.
Yeah.
And that's been pretty consistent that way. I just have this, I was expecting that once I was off the chemo that I was going to feel more normal. Just been I had a hard time getting back to where I felt normal. I've resorted to having to take a nap just pretty much every day to get through it. Maybe that's not so bad for a 75-year-old guy, but it's not what I'm used to.
Hey, Al, I wonder if it's not the prednisone, coming off the prednisone. I had
Well,
the same issue.
that's what I think it is. I mean, I was ramping off it the way they suggested, and I was feeling it, and they said, "Well, let's do it even slower." I mean, I ramped off over almost 2 months, but once I stopped the tiny little dose, I still feel off. And I suspect it has something to do with the testosterone too, and I think I'll bring that up with Belusic when I see him. Um, but I would expect that eventually I would recover from that.
Yeah, I did. I'm just starting to feel better. But I really struggled with, and I think it was the prednisone myself. And I came down 2.5 milligrams every other week for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I did something similar to that. Um, so anyway, I'm anxious. Other than the dry mouth, I'm not really feeling anything in particular about the Pluvicto this time. Um, they are doing it differently. When I did it at UCLA, it was through a drip, IV drip, and this at I'm doing it now at Mount Sinai in Miami Beach, and they're doing it with just an injection, well, through an IV, but it's an injection rather than a drip. Oh, it before it took an hour for the infusion. Now it happens in a few less than a minute. Um,
All
I don't
right,
know if
Al, we
anybody
wish you
else.
luck with the Pluvicto. Yeah, we're going to have to move on. We've still got a
Okay,
couple of
that's fine.
guys, and
And anyway,
okay,
that's my story.
thank you for the update. Mark Valens, go ahead, Mark.
I just want a quick check in with you guys. After having undetectable PSA for 4 years, um, last month it went up to 0.04. Last week it went up to 0.06. So we're still talking about tiny amounts, but I'm just trying to figure if I just watch it or whether I should be thinking about doing anything else.
Not much you can do until you get up around zero point 0.2, where they may want to pull the trigger on a PSMA PET scan.
Okay.
But I wouldn't worry about it right now, Mark. I'd say you're doing pretty good after 4 years of undetectable. Still very low.
I just something is changing, but I don't know what. But
Yep, I'm going through the same thing right now myself.
okay.
But I don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do now. Nothing I can do either.
Okay. Well, thanks.
All right. We've got
Hold on,
Rich
Len.
Jackson.
Hold on, Len. Hold on. So I think there are other guys who are going through who are also seeing this. There are a number of issues here. The tests are just not that accurate at these low levels. And what were you seeing before the 0.04? Because 0.04 is usually what they show for insignificant. Were you seeing something?
Mine came back every time less than 0.01.
It came back as less than 0.01. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's gone 0.04, 0.06. So
Right.
yeah, as Len says, you've got to wait. But again, the tests are not that reliable at this level. Anyone else has had very, very low levels and has anything to contribute on this topic?
In my case, this is John. I'm at 0.01, and my oncologist says the same thing as Len says. Just sit tight, try not to worry about it. And he said that he wouldn't pull that trigger until I got up to 0.2.
And and 0.2 is a long way from 0.06. So I think that it's easy to say, but and Len is super good at this, and some of the other guys are very good at it, and some of the guys are not so good at it. But you've got to try and just live in the moment, live with it. In a certain sense, you want to, if it is rising, you want to see it rise to a level where we can see where the cancer is coming from. Because if we can avoid treating this systemically and it's small enough and we can shoot something at it, that would be good, Mark.
Yep.
Are you still seeing Halaborno? Because I know she's
Yes, and
cut back her schedule.
I've got a question into her. It sometimes takes a while for her to get back, but I'm waiting to hear from
So
her.
yeah, the reason for that is she's gone to a part-time schedule because she is the CEO of a startup that is it's I'm trying to remember. I need to refresh my mind, but I think it has to do with using AI for locating the right doctors. I think. I'll look. I got it written down because I reached out to her recently. But if you look up Halaborno on LinkedIn, you can find out what it is she's doing, and they got funding and one thing and another. So she's not taking new patients, and she's cut back a lot on her schedule, which is really a shame because she's a great doc.
She's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all like her, and I've actually reached out to have a meeting with her about this project that she's doing. But I do think see what she says, and it's a toughie, and
Yep.
it's very easy for us to say, oh yeah, just live in the moment and I get it. But we don't know what else to say because there isn't a lot that we can really do. And we've seen people show 0.04, 0.06, and then all of a sudden it goes back down again because the numbers are so small at that level.
Yep.
Before we move on to the next person, anybody else want to say anything on that? Like our resident psychiatrist, for example, or no? Okay.
Well, yeah, reassurance, peer support. I mean, telling you not to worry about it. At least it's usually a very slow moving process. So there really isn't a reason to panic. So
I,
like Rick says, it's easy to say don't worry, but don't worry.
I'm mostly not worrying. I want to be prepared if something happens and it really starts climbing. I just want to be prepared what to do next.
Well, they'll just scan you and put you back on ADT if you're still hormone sensitive.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.
And maybe
I
listen
have a
to.
question. I have a question for Mark. Mark, what's going on with that retention issue? And you were going to check with Mac. I mean, last time we spoke to you, you're having horrible problems with urinary retention. Where's that gone?
That's Dr. Breyer at UCSF he's a top urologist. He put me on Mirbetriq,
Yep.
and I don't have to get up to pee all the time in the middle of the night, but
Yep.
I think it might have made it worse that sometimes I can't pee. And I've had to self-catheterize a few times, but mostly I just have to dribble on out.
Are you in pain from it or not?
Not really. No.
Okay. And you were going to reach out to Mac to see what he had to say. Did
Well,
you do that?
actually sent me over to Dr. Breyer. I mean, he
Okay.
made sure he had me on Tamsulosin, and then when that wasn't working, he said talk to Dr. Breyer because Dr.
Okay.
Breyer can build me a new urethra if I need it. He's one of the top
Okay.
surgeons.
Okay. 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 Well, we have experience with building you a new urethra. Um, God forbid you need it. We've got guys that you can talk to.
But just listen to Bob Marley. Every little thing's gonna be all right. Don't worry. Okay, we're gonna go to Rich Jackson. Sorry for that off-key singing. Rich Jackson, are you still with us?
Yeah, we're still here.
All right.
Still working our way through the Pluvicto trial. Has anybody that's had Pluvicto had any issues with the AST or ALT on the liver enzymes?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking is treatment 4
Yeah.
was delayed because AST, ALT spiked to 76 and 290 and dropped back down within 10 days to normal. They have no idea. And just it's very short. On the 20th of June, they AST spiked to 237 and ALT spiked to 420. And as of July 11th, they were down to 28 and 20 and 76. ALT was still a little high.
Well, I'd say as long as they keep dropping back down in between, probably don't have anything to worry about. I guess the liver is just getting a little inflamed from the treatments.
Well, they're
I don't know. What do
considering it.
what do the MDs say about that?
Well, because it's a clinical trial, they're considering it like a grade 3 issue. So they're kind of freaking out on the whole thing. I am completely asymptomatic for any liver issues. Nothing, no symptoms at all of any liver issue. There's no correlation between activity and the spikes. I've completed the 5th round of Pluvicto, got that in, and the 6th will be coming up about the 2nd week of August. Right now, I'm still on standard of care in addition to the Pluvicto treatment. So the last CT bone scan, no lymph nodes showed up, and the 8th rib metastasis was, they could still see it only because they knew where to look. So right now they don't know if it's standard of care or if it's the clinical trial. Did have a reaction to Firmagon, and now I'll be starting Orgovix tomorrow. Still taking Erlita daily.
How are
Dr.
you?
Jack's got his mic on. You want to comment?
No, it was when you're back there with the liver, when liver irritability, inflammation temporarily, sounds like he had a pretty resilient liver to make such a rapid recovery. And I've seen that with drugs, medication, where temporarily people have that kind of inflammatory response, irritability subsides relatively quickly, nothing to really be concerned about unless it stays up there and you show, jaundice or any other symptoms of liver inflammation on a chronic level. So I was just feeling you got a very resilient liver, and so far so good. And I hope you continue to go that way. That's all. I was just thinking of that.
Cool.
Okay,
That means
thanks,
I can
Jack.
get back
Rick?
to my serious drinking.
Yeah, but don't ride your bike at the same time. Do me a favor, okay? Now, I was going to ask you, how are you feeling after 6X? How, by and large, are you fatigued? Have you got trouble with your taste and your swallowing,
Uh,
or are you doing okay generally?
Nothing tastes right. Fatigue is probably at about an 8.
Mm.
Um, I I can't I can't have a drink of water without having something to wash it down with. So the my white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets are all low. They're they're aware of it, but it's low but non-concerning. And the only thing I've bumped into during the Pluvicto trial was they started gabapentin for a nerve issue in the left leg that they ramped up to 900 per day. And when about a week, 10 days after it hit the 900 level, as I explained to the doctor, I don't have words to describe how I felt. But the closest thing I can come up with is that if you're watching a movie and they're trying to portray someone whose drink has been drugged, or that they're having issues where everything's going in and out of focus as far as depth perception. So we stopped the gabapentin and went to Lyrica. So that's right now it's an improvement, but I'm still having, I guess, flashes of the gabapentin loss of focus. My ability to function dropped down to probably 60 to 70%. And hell, I used to be a nuclear engineer. It's I'd walk in the bathroom and forget why I walked in there. And that's typically not something that occurs to us. But that is improving. PSA's less than 0.04 as expected, so there's no surprise. The clinical trial is expected to go on for like another 53 years if I let them, which I probably won't be playing quite that long, but we'll see what happens after the last one, and then but they expect standard of care to continue, so there's going to be no easy way to determine how effective the Pluvicto was. At least not that I can see.
Rich, I was just looking at online here. Gabapentin, apparently, there are case reports of drug-induced hepatic injury, significant elevation in levels of gamma glutamyl transpeptidase, which is GGT, alanine aminotransferase, ALT, and aspartate aspartate AST, which used to be called SGOT. So, maybe it was the gabapentin. Who knows? Maybe if you get off of that, liver enzymes will be okay.
Well, the second time it spiked, uh, we did find similar things on the gabapentin. The first time it spiked, I wasn't on it.
Okay.
But the second time it spiked considerably higher, which I thought was rather impressive. I was like 7 times the upper limit and 8.5 times the upper limit, which just freaked him out perfectly well. I got
I
everybody's
was
Has
on,
it?
attention.
I was on gabapentin for a little while, and I had bad reactions to it right away, and so it didn't sit well with me.
has it happened since you switched to the Lyrica? Have your liver numbers gone crazy since you switched to the Lyrica?
Well, they spiked on the gabapentin, and then they came back down on the 11th of July. But the gabapentin should have still been pretty well at full force in my
Right,
body, and the Lyrica had only had a day or two to make the transition.
right. So, Dr. John, or Dr. Jack, I mean, you guys, I'm sure, have some experience with Lyrica and gabapentin and what have you. Any wise words from your experience to Mr. J?
I've had very few patients who didn't get fuzzy thinking on gabapentin. Most of them complain, and it's almost invariable that you get up to 900 milligrams or more. People can't think clearly. They feel disoriented and confused. It's so common. And then you start reducing the dosage and they feel much better, or eliminate it and they really feel wonderful. So it's very common. Lyric possibly a little better, but that's my experience with my bipolar patients and other patients who pain control and whatever it's been used for.
Yeah, this
And
one's being used pain
Lyrica's
control.
not really all that different from gabapentin.
Right.
So if all the side effects don't disappear while you're on Lyrica, you could always go to something else. There's plenty of anticonvulsants that might help with neuropathic pain or whatever is going on.
Rich, my AST, ALT numbers went up tenfold a year ago in that reaction to Keytruda, and we brought it under control right away with a high dose of prednisone.
Mine spiked and then immediately started dropping. Both times. They just from one lab test at both normal to both high out of spec to the next lab test. This last time, the AST was back to normal.
Good.
And that's within like 2 weeks. A normal lab test, a high out of spec lab, and then back to normal. So it's whatever it is, it's acute, but they have no clue what's causing it.
And the lutetium could be a culprit too.
That's an option, but I would expect more elevated rather than just a spike and back to nothing or back to normal. I would expect it remain elevated if it was the lutetium.
How could you remind me how often the lutetium infusions?
It's six weeks.
6 weeks
between doses.
So you could have I suppose you could have a spike after an infusion and then fall back toward normal and then have it happen again. I don't know, just in case there's a correlation.
Yeah, the first spike was the day before I was supposed to get the 4th dose.
Oh, okay.
So it was totally at the end of the 6-week
period.
period.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Nothing is playing nicely with what they're expecting.
Yeah.
At least they're
Dr.
checking.
Dr. Jack, I appreciate the okay to go ahead and start drinking heavily again. Thanks.
No, I wouldn't recommend
Other than that,
I'm not sure that was the message, Rich.
No, please.
Oh, that's what came out on my speakers.
Well,
some guys hear what they want to hear.
Peter, you had something to say. What did you have to say?
No, I was just saying, at least they're checking. That's the good thing about checking these things all the time. Liver enzymes.
No kidding. And my guys aren't checking anything. Yeah.
Well, the clinical trial is I do blood work for the local lab, the local office, but I also do a clinical trial blood pack. So I get poked about every week. The longest I've been is 10 days, 12 days between blood work. But it's because of the clinical trial.
And at least you don't have to go too far to get poked, which is it's sort of in the neighborhood, right, Rich?
Just got to get through the downtown or midtown tunnel, but usually
Yeah.
it's fairly workable.
I think again, I mean the same words I said before to Al is just keep a real close eye on those blood counts and your blood marrow, on your bone marrow, because on the odd occasion we've seen people on Pluvicto where it drives it down and it doesn't come back that quickly. And I don't think they know why. If Dr. E can't figure out what's doing, why that's happening, I think most other people won't be able to either. And but we've seen it. She wrote to me about it months ago, and we had somebody at the time that was going through it. So the best advice we can give you is keep your eye on it real close, and if it starts to get kind of crummy and you're feeling real crummy, talk to the docs about should you continue. But because you say that your numbers are like low but not super low. I mean, what's
Correct.
your hemoglobin?
Stand by. Let's see, white blood cell. What's the abbreviation for hemoglobin?
HMG.
HGB.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. HGB. Stand corrected.
HGB 11.4.
No, you're good.
The low is 14. The only issue I've had is, and it's probably concerning platelets, is following one of the lab pokes, I was still bleeding 25 minutes later. That was a one-time occurrence. The rest of them have been, a drop on the cotton ball, and
Right.
2 drops on the cotton ball. 25 minutes later, the cotton ball was soaked. And when I took it off, where they had drawn blood was still weeping. But there again, it's like I said, that's a one-time thing.
Right.
I hate to hear a vigorous guy sound so tired.
Well, Dr. Jack's giving me permission, so I'll sound better next time you hear me.
Might as well ride a motorcycle while you're drinking too.
And just in case anybody's bored on
That
Thursday,
looks like
we'd be happy to have you stop by Men Speaking Freely. It's the same channel as this, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to continue our discussion from the last Men Speaking Freely that Dr. John got started so well. Sorry, Liam.
well, we only had one other guy, and he left, so I think we can close it out unless anybody's got any more comments for Rich. No.
Len, who did we lose that wanted time and didn't get it?
Terrell.
Oh, right. Yeah, he often leaves early, so we'll get him next time.
Yeah.
I'll drop him a line.
I tried to take everybody in the order that they showed up.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Sure. And we
Well,
still
thanks,
did
Len.
pretty good with 2 new men, and it's only 15 minutes over. So
Yeah. And
wait,
I'm sorry, I lost my video because it keeps popping up saying poor connection. It automatically shut down my video, so apologize for that. And uh, thank you all for participating, and we'll see you next week.
Thank
we
you,
will.
Lynn. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Len.
Lynn.
Thanks, Len.
Yeah,
You're
See you
welcome.
tonight.
Thanks.
we'll
Thank you,
we'll
guys.
see you we'll see you next week with Dr. John in the chair. So goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.